The New York Rangers AHL team, Hartford Wolfpack, will have a very good team down there this year, I'm sure, and they definitely have some very solid defensemen. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at those guys, as well as the top call-up potential guys for the Rangers, and also the prospects down there, and the other just kind of solid players on that defensive side of things, because this is going to be a very solid decor down there in the AHL, with a lot of guys who could be very solid call-ups, as well as taking a look at the kind of top guys down there and the kind of fringe NHLers who could make that 6 D-man spot as well briefly. So starting off with a guy like Zach Jones and Erik Gustafsson, those are the two guys who I imagine have the best chance of taking that 6 D-man spot on the New York Rangers alongside Braden Schneider on that third D pair. Not going to touch too much on those guys because I think they're pretty much set in stone going to be in the NHL. Now Zach Jones maybe is in the AHL. We'll have to wait and see, but if I had to guess, Erik Gustafsson is not going to be in the AHL. It's not going to happen. And I do think that they're kind of the 6th and 7th D-men. And they are still kind of fighting with Ben Harpur and Matthew Robertson for those spots. But if I had to guess, if I had to bet money, I would definitely put my money on a guy like Zach Jones and Erik Gustafsson being the 6th and 7th D-men for the Rangers. And both are solid offensive defensemen who I think both complement a guy like Braden Schneider quite well. And either one of them could work really well on that third pairing alongside Schneider. And taking a look at the AHL side of things now, though, a guy like Matthew Robertson, he could have a big year. He's still one of the better prospects that the Rangers have defensively. I think he's probably, right behind a guy like Zach Jones. He's only 21 years old, from Canada, played for, the Edmonton Oil Kings for a while. And this is a really solid player. And last year in the AHL, had 57 games played, 5 goals, 18 assists, 23 points, -7, but still had a pretty good year. Doesn't have a ton of experience yet so far in pro hockey, but definitely as time moves on, he should develop into a pretty solid, potentially bottom pairing guy. I think worst case scenario, maybe doesn't end up being a top 4 guy, but maybe he can be at least a bottom pairing guy or a number 4, maybe number 3, who knows. But I think he's not going to be a top pairing guy, but definitely still could be a very solid D-man at the NHL one day, or at least be a very solid depth guy. But I still have some hope for him to be a really solid NHL defenseman one day and definitely help out this team quite a bit. And we could see him at some point this year. My guess is we'll probably just see Zach Jones and Erik Gustafsson as that 6th and 7th D-man spot, but he definitely does have a chance potentially to make the roster. Another guy, Ben Harpur, had a decent amount of time with the Rangers last year and played quite well. I think he has the potential to be a 6th, 7th D-man as well, but personally, I think it's probably going to be Gustafsson or Zach Jones. But overall, he's a massive defenseman. He can fight, he can hit, he can block shots, play solid defensively. Doesn't have a crazy offensive game by any means, but definitely is a very solid, sound defenseman who is a good depth option. There's not necessarily a guy you want to see on your top 4 by any means, but definitely in the bottom pairing role as your 6th D-man, 7th D-man kind of guy. Is a good depth defenseman to have on this team, and has a decent amount of experience as well, still in his late 20s, so not too old, but definitely not going to be some crazy top 4 D-man, I can imagine, but definitely a very solid depth guy. Another guy like Ty Emberson, he's a very solid little prospect. 69 games played last year in Hartford, 7 goals, 20 assists, 27 points, was a +17 in the playoffs. Had a very good playoff run where he had 9 games played, 5 points, looked very solid there. He's still only 22 years old, so still fairly young, still the potential to be a really solid NHL D-man. And this is a guy who, had a good year last year, maybe get the chance at some point as a call-up next year. I'm not quite sure this upcoming season, but you never know. It's possible. I'd imagine he probably plays the whole entire year with the Hartford Wolfpack, but he could be a call-up. You never know. A solid D-man, still young, still has some potential to be something decent one day maybe. Another solid, relatively young D-man here is Brandon Scanlon. 61 games played last year with Hartford Wolfpack, only 4 goals, 11 assists, 15 points. Solid defensively, was a +21, had 1 assist in 9 playoff games last year as well. He's only 23 years old, so another kind of, fairly young, early 20s defenseman who's a solid player, not a crazy player, doesn't have the highest potential, but could one day be maybe a solid depth D-man. Then obviously you also have a couple other guys like a Nicholas Briard, who is a new kind of AHL guy we picked up last year with the San Diego Gulls, the Anaheim Ducks farm team. He had 39 points in 72 games played last year. Left-handed defenseman, fairly small, only 5'11", but a solid player. Had 120 penalty minutes though, so obviously that's quite high, but could maybe be a solid depth guy. He's not going to be an NHL guy, I can't imagine, but could be a solid player in the AHL. Still only 28 years old as well, so not too old. Another guy here, Connor Mackey, he's actually had some NHL experience. He's only 26, turning 27 in September. Another left-handed defenseman, about 6'2", 197 pounds. This past year played 30 games in the NHL, had 10 with the Calgary Flames, had 3 assists, or sorry, 1 assist, 2 goals, 3 points total, was a -6. So nothing insane there. Then had 20 games played with the Arizona Coyotes, where he had 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. So again, nothing crazy there. Is a maybe decent depth guy. Might have a game here or there with the Rangers, but could be a really solid AHL kind of guy. And the last guy here we have is Mac Hollowell. Now, this is a very solid move because most of the guys we picked up this offseason as depth D-men, or just we already had in the system that played for the Hartford Wolfpack last year or something, most of them are left-handed guys. So picking up Mac Hollowell was a very good move. He's a right-handed defenseman, only 5'9", so fairly small, 170 pounds. But still only 24, turning 25 in late September. A former 4th-round pick of the Leafs in the 2018 draft. So still relatively young, not super young, but still relatively young. Had a very good career in the OHL with the Sioux Greyhounds. But this past year played 6 games with the Leafs in the NHL, making his debut this season. Had 6 games played, 2 assists. Was a +3, so nothing insane, but definitely was a solid depth D-man. I watched a couple of his games this year as well. And then with the Marlies, had 18 games played, 13 assists, no goals, but 13 assists, 13 points in 18 games played in the AHL is not bad at all. And also in the playoffs with the Marlies, had 7 games played, 5 assists. So this is a very solid depth D-man. And let's say a guy like Trouba or Schneider gets hurt or something, or even an Adam Fox, maybe this is the guy who gets the call-up or something. You never know. It's a possibility we could see. And this is a guy who, isn't going to be an elite guy, but at least has a bit of NHL experience and is still young, still has a tiny bit of potential to maybe be a solid depth D-man. But you're not going to pair this guy with someone like a Zach Jones or Eric Gustafsson on that bottom pairing, so you'd have to swap the lines around a bit. But overall, a solid depth D-man and definitely one of the better right-handed defenseman depth options currently in this system. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please smash the like button. And definitely comment down below your guys' thoughts on all these moves that we made. There's some solid depth D-men here. Who do you think are going to be the top call-ups? My guess is for right-handed side of things, probably going to be like a Mac Hollowell maybe. And then for the left side of things, probably a Ben Harper, Matthew Robertson. Obviously, you're going to have guys like Gustin and Zach Jones up with the Rangers, but we'll see what happens. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Thanks for watching, and see ya.